Well, howdy folks, Hellcrex here, and welcome to episode 100 from Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today we're going to be talking about the Bulldog, the 60-ton medium tank. It's a vehicle I like to use on a lot of occasions because it seems to be handy capable. Mostly because it can do things up close and a little bit farther out. And it has some decent amount of armor for most operations that I like to use it in, and it's not that expensive when it comes to battle value or the infamous C-bill. Now, the Bulldog, 60 tons. It is a 460 with an internal combustion engine. It has 8 heat sinks. Internal combustion engine and 8 heat sinks. We'll talk about that. Now, it has 104 points of armor, which isn't all that great, but if you use it in the right type of games, especially in combined arms with lots of infantry and all that kind of stuff, it's not that bad. Now, against mechs and stuff, that armor is a downfall. Now, for weaponry, it has a large laser in the turret, 2 SRM4s in the turret with a couple tons of ammo in the body, has a single machine gun on the front slope with a ton of ammo in the body. Now, with all the weapon outfit you have there, you got at least something that shoots out to 15, so it has a decent zone of control for a 600 battle value tank. So the battle value, yeah, you can take in some different mechs and stuff to do the job, but if you're playing games where you're looking for something that's a little cheaper when it comes to, let's say, C-bills, running a company, or you're playing a planetary defense force or something of that nature, vehicles are the way to go because you can obviously maintain a planetary defense force a lot cheaper with vehicles than you can with battle mechs. Alright? So, the battle mechs in the game are kind of the elite forces. And vehicles are the true standby type of equipment that gets the job done on many occasions. Be it tracked, wheeled, or hovercraft, or VTOL. Now, the Bulldog, how do I like using this thing? Well, I like to use it in combined arms, combine it with some Pegasus that I use as APCs, and with some Maxims or something that will carry my infantry up to the front, drop them off, and then you can bring the Bulldogs in to help support those faster moving forces. Or if you're in a fixed position where you have your infantry already dug in, the Bulldogs can go in there and basically shepherd things decently. Or, quite a few times, if I have a fire support lance of battle mechs, well, toss a couple Bulldogs in there for something that's a speed bump that can shoot some and also help out with the enclosed support, especially if you have, let's say, somebody likes to run a longbow or archers. The archers do have the 4 medium lasers typically, or you got a catapult with a couple medium lasers. They can handle things up close, but if you have some Bulldogs, you can toss them out, like I said, as a speed bump for a minimal amount of battle value and create yourself a kind of a blocking force that does have some bite to it, because you can't not argue with something that has a large laser and a couple SRM4s, because you're looking at something that's going to be tearing some armor off, and by the time, a lot of cases with something getting up close to you, the armor's pretty much ripped off anyway, especially if it's medium mechs or even light mechs. Those SRMs are going to do some wonders in crit hunting, and when you can rip off 8 points of armor here and there with those large lasers, you run a lance of these guys, that's not too bad. Well, you're talking, 2,400 battle value, but that could be a 2,400 battle value. In the last game we played, that was just one mech. All right, that was a or one of our assault mechs was around that point value. So you can bring an entire lance of tanks in for the same cost of one battle mech. All right, let that sink in a little bit. Now, if I'm on the offensive, yeah, being a 4.6, they're not really fast, but so I like to use these guys in conjunction with some average, either heavies or medium mechs that say like your Centurions and that nature, where yeah, they're 4.6 also, so they're not really fast, but these will augment your forces pretty decently, do some damage good, and if necessary, maybe work as a distraction to keep your battle mechs from getting tore up. I'd rather lose a vehicle or two than a battle mech, because the vehicles are fairly cheap in cost to repair comparatively to the cost of a battle mech, because hey, you may be someplace where you can get internal combustion engines, but you can't find your hands on a fusion reactor. All right, so that's a good idea, to sacrifice one for the other. And let's see, now there's some variants with this thing. There is two variants that they do talk about. One is the SRM. They replace, now let's talk about it. You have a large laser on it that does 8 heat, and being that it's a vehicle, you have to dissipate all the heat that you create with it. So you hit it with, or you run up with 8 heat sinks to go with the 8 points. So you're looking at 13 tons wrapped up in one weapon system for a large laser. Okay, so there's some variants that kind of change things out. One is a direct replacement. You take the large laser off and replace it with a SRM4. All right, that turns it into more of a fire support vehicle, but you do have a couple SRMs4s for up close, or something gets in close within 9, you have something to pepper them with, and you can do that for 25 turns. The tank's probably going to be dead long before you run out of ammo with that thing. So that's not a bad deal. I've used it on rare occasions. I've run it in conjunction with another fire support. Say there've been times when I run it with a dervish or something like that. So I got a medium lance that needs a little bit of close. So this could help out a little closer too. So you got the SRM4 that pounds away. Now the other version replaces the large laser with a couple AC2s, and this one I do not like. Yeah, you get something that shoots out a longer range with the AC2s, but you also lose an SRM4. So you only have one SRM4, you got 2 AC2s and a machine gun, and then you're looking at something that is shooting way out there, but most you're going to do is 4 points of damage versus something within 15 that you can do 8. Or go with the SRM4 version. I'd rather run with the SRM4 version, because then you're able to do a little bit more damage, and yeah, you can do it a little farther out. So there's something right there. Now, one version I do like to do, okay, is I've done this many times with my mercenary companies. Like, you get your hands on a bunch of fusion reactors, you got the money, you got the C-bills, play with it. I replaced the internal combustion engine with a fusion reactor. That suddenly frees up a whole bunch of tonnage, because you have 8 tons right there that's wrapped up in heat sinks you no longer need, because you have a fusion reactor that takes care of that for you. So what are you going to do? Well, this is what I like to do with this thing. There's 2 options. 2 things I've done in the past is, all right, so you got a whole bunch of extra weight that you can play with. One is I move it up to a 5.8 mover and put a infantry cargo bay in the back. So it has 1 ton of infantry cargo. So I turned it into an APC. So basically you got the same firepower, but as an ACP. But it's a 5.8. So it can move in a little bit faster. So that's kind of something I like to do every once in a while. So yeah, it's you throw your infantry in the back. You can go up to 8 hexes. You rush to the front, and then you drop them off. And then you have a vehicle that can add a little bit of firepower with your, let's say, your SRM infantry or your LRM infantry or laser infantry, whatever type you take. You know, it has to be a straight leg infantry because you can't put jump in because it's only 1 ton. You know, so not a big deal. So the straight legs. Because the one thing about infantry is that they make great things, especially if you have a fire support team in the back behind you. You can throw them. With the infantry, it'd be your spotters for your guys that are farther back if they don't have direct line of sight. And they also become sort of a initiative sink. You can throw a bunch of cheap infantry around. Now, another version, which is the same tank with a fusion reactor, leave it at 4.6. So it's the same speed. That means you have a bunch of extra weaponry that you can play around with. So what I've done with that one, this is the one I usually run with, upgraded 2 SRM4s to 2 SRM6s, put another 2 machine guns on it on the front slope. So then if infantry get in close, if you get close to infantry, you can mow them down in droves. So they're not really happy when you're sitting there hitting them right and left. Still got the large laser on board. Put the infantry cargo bay in the back. Then you upgrade more of the armor. So this thing is a little more tougher. So it can stand up. It becomes more of a brawler type tank. And that's something I like doing every once in a while, because especially if you got a combined arms and you got your infantry with you, you are able to roughhouse a little bit longer. And the odds are, a lot of times I've seen with this is like it gets hit with a motive hits and you're stuck sitting there. It's like, oh, I can't move anymore. But you're with your infantry on top of the objective that you're trying to hold. So is that really a big problem? Not really, because then you're sitting there parked where you need to be anyway and just rotate your turret around and shoot your targets. So they got to come to you eventually because they want the position. And if the infantry are dug in, so much the better. And then if you turn it into with a ton of infantry cargo bay in the back, then you have something that has a lot of good firepower, be it tracked, can go to different places carrying your infantry, which are, as you know, your straight leg infantry are really slow in the game. But if you got something that can get them there a little faster, I like doing that. That's kind of like the 2 variants that I like playing with. And when you have the other variants, it's just the standard book variants with of those 2, I rather have the LRM version because it turns it into, actually increases the firepower that you're going to be putting down range. But for extended periods of time, you might run out of ammo, but that's not overly a big deal, especially when you're playing a lot of, say if you're playing a pickup game, that's not a big deal, because most games are done in 10-12 turns anyway, especially if you're playing a 5,000-10,000 point game. They're done pretty quickly. Now if you're playing campaigns, then you have to be a little closer to a supply bay to at least resupply that LRM-20. Now that's can be an issue, but if you have some type of, say, cargo hovercraft, then it's not too big a deal, where you can run supplies really fast to the front, or if you have, even a Karnov where you can drop off a bunch of cargo, you can dump 4 tons or 5 or 6 or 7 tons worth of ammo off real quick and then take off, and then they can manhandle the ammo into the vehicle quickly. So that is pretty much it when it comes to the Bulldog. I've been using this thing for many years. I think all my Bulldogs I have are made of lead, so that tells you how long I've had them. And every time I do play a Mercenary campaign, I always try to pick some of these up just to toss into the works, because I like turning them into a improvised, well, you could turn them into a APC if you want to. Basically all you gotta do, it's like in one way is you can dump the machine gun. Yeah, you're losing some anti-infantry support, but you can take that 1 ton from the ammo, convert it into an ammo bay, or not an infantry bay, and then you still have a ½ ton left over that you can either toss into more armor. So that's one way, without too many modifications to it, if you want to go that route without having to worry about a fusion reactor. So I've done that also, and then you're able to carry around your security forces, because there's a lot of times if you're playing any type of campaign game, your mech warriors are not going to be sitting around all the time in their mechs 24/7. They got to get some rest sometime. So you take a lance of these guys with 4 platoons of infantry, and you can turn that into your security force. So you can have create a cantonment around your mechs and provide operational security, so your pilots and crews can get some rest, so you can just rotate around, and then you keep your guys fresh. So thinking about it in real life terms of, you're going to be on and off for your operations. So that's kind of how I looked at things over the years, how I like to use these things, is providing in close fire support one way or the other. All right, hope you guys enjoy this, and like and subscribe, tell your friends about it, and we'll see you in the next one. And this is the 100th episode, and I'm glad to see you guys that have been around since the beginning. Put a thumbs up, everybody. We'll talk with you later. Helker X out.